So I had an idea for a cider, but I wanted to use maple syrup in it. So we're making a spiced maple cider. Okay, to start off with, we're just going to cut up some apples. And
now, I'm just going to give you a little tale of woe because I very carefully selected these apples to make sure that they were blemish-free and the nicest looking apples because I know we were going to put them in whole. And then we went to checkout.
And the lady that bagged our stuff just
threw them all over
banged
the
them all
place,
together.
And now they got
there's bruises and stuff. So I'm going to cut off the bad parts. But what I do is I have it, then I quarter it, and then I cut out the middle of the core. And then I'm just going to cut those into like slices. Okay. And do you have to put in the whole apples? No, you do not. However, we have found that adding apples adds complexity to brews like this and it improves them so much that I recommend doing it. I mean, cideries do it. They add different kinds of apples. Speaking of different kinds of apples, what kind of different kinds of apples do we have?
Well, we selected 2 of the more tart on the spectrum apples because we knew we were going to add the maple syrup to this, and that was going to give plenty of sweetness. So we have Granny Smith and Honeycrisp.
Which is not really tart, is it?
It's more on the tart end than the sweet end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, either way. See, here's one. There's a big bruise on the side of it.
That was not there when I selected it.
Yep. Oh, I know. She went through and picked good apples. And I'm just going to have to cut that right off.
And this was only like a couple of days ago.
We literally bought these 2 days ago. But hey, you know.
I'm sorry for going on about it, but it's these details that.
It matters.
Yeah.
It matters. It makes a difference. You want to use good fresh fruit when you're fermenting. I've often heard people say, oh, this was just about to go off, so I threw it in my brew. Well, that may be okay, and that is the origin of putting fruit into brews, but I don't think it's the best practice. I really think you want to use the freshest fruit you have.
The only time that I could see using past ripe fruit in a brew is if you already had alcohol present, because then the risk would be minimized.
Even then, it's not a great idea, but sure I get it. Now, someone's going to ask, why am I cutting the cores out? Well, partially because I think the core is kind of gross, and I don't necessarily want to eat it, even though I'm not going to eat any of these apples anyway. And second, the seeds. Okay, here's the spiel on the seeds. The seeds don't actually contain cyanide, but in your stomach, there's compounds that can turn into cyanide. Now, you would have to eat so many seeds to actually have a problem that it's insane. However, I don't really want them sitting in my brew for weeks on end, taking that risk. So
Isn't
to me,
there potential bittering compounds in the seeds as well that may affect the brew more than the cyanide issue?
Yeah, probably. That's probably a bigger worry, really, than the cyanide. To me, it's just a case of
better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and I'd want to cut the apples up anyway so that you get more extraction from them. So yeah, just cut the cores out.
Now, if you haven't seen another video that we've done where we used fresh fruit like this, you may
done it a bunch of times.
You may be wondering why we aren't making these smaller pieces. Well, apples in particular just kind of self-destruct in the fermentation process and may create more of an applesauce than an apple chunk leftover, which is messy and difficult in the racking procedure. So we found that keeping them in this size mitigates that, but still allows a good amount of surface area to extract the fruit flavors.
I actually usually only do quarters. This time I'm doing them in eighths, just because I feel like it. Sometimes the answer to why did we do a thing is because we wanted to do something differently than what we've done a million times before. We get asked that a lot, like, oh, why did you do this instead of this? Well, because we've done it that way before, and I wanted to try something different.
And part of the reason, which I think Brian was about to say, and I just cut him off, and I'm sorry for that, is that we try to show you that there is more than one way to approach any brewing situation. And so there isn't this way and only this way. There's multitudes of ways.
Well, for some things, there is only one way, but they're few and far between. There's not a lot of things that are one way and that's it. So we like to promote the idea of experiment, try different things. There are best practices, but in general, that's all they are, is best practices. Doesn't mean it's the only way still.
Speaking of best practices, all of the things that we're using today, the fermenter, the knife, Our hands have been sanitized in the red bucket of sanitization.
No jazz hands? Speaking of doing things differently.
Yeah, I hurt my arm, so
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to minimize
She has
my
tendinitis.
movement.
Yeah.
Next up is apple juice. Today
Right.
we're using Mott's Natural. Why are we using Mott's Natural? Because if you go to the ingredients list, it's apple juice, water, and apple juice concentrate.
Yep. The concentrate thing doesn't bother me so much. Some people get a little freaked out by that. I'm more freaked out by like ites and eights and even the acids. I don't want the acids. I know they're only there to preserve freshness and whatnot, but it is acid added to the brew. And we've had less than stellar results when there's been ascorbic acid or citric acid in our apple juices.
And that's because adding acidity to a liquid lowers the pH, which can give yeast some problems, but not necessarily all the time, as we discovered in our juice wine 2 ways.
Okay, that's one. And I shake them up because there's goop on the bottom and, you know, you get all the goop. It's important. Now, this is more than a gallon batch. That's why we're doing a 2-gallon bucket. Because we have 1 gallon of juice, then we have the apples, and then we have the maple flavoring, which is going to be real maple flavoring, not fake maple flavoring. And for that, we're actually just going to use Kirkland maple syrup. Now,
This is an organic maple syrup,
I think all maple syrup is organic, technically.
unless it's not really maple
It's
syrup.
not made from minerals, therefore it's organic. I'm just joking. The whole organic labeling thing, I think they've gotten a little carried away.
They have. But with people questioning the legitimacy of honey, I think it's important
Yeah.
that this is actual maple syrup.
Yay, it came off.
Did you scorch yourself?
Sort of squirted me.
How's it taste?
Tastes like maple syrup. Feels like it too.
That's going to be fun for somebody with a sticky phobia.
Yep. All right. So the way I want to do this is I'm trying to calculate out our initial gravity. So we're going to kind of back up a little bit and figure out some other aspects of this brew before we move forward with adding the maple syrup. And one of those is, what yeast are we going to use? We have a selection of yeast. I'll get to it in just a second. We have 4 yeasts here that I'll get to in a minute. But Derica went through our entire inventory of yeast, wrote them all down, and wrote down all the manufacturer's parameters that they give you on them.
Right.
It took her the better part of a day.
It did.
There was a lot going on. But the yeast that we have for ciders in particular are Mangrove Jack's cider yeast MO2, Saf Cider AB1. That's right, it's Saf, not safe. We found that out when we went to visit Fermentus.
It's Saf for LaSaf.
Yeah, Saf. Yeah, I thought it was safe, but it's Saf. Saf Cider AB1, Saf Cider AS2, and Saf Cider TF6. Now, we did a cider 3 ways, where I think these were the 3 we used.
I think so.
And I don't remember what the outcome was, but I know they were all pretty close, and they were very, very good. There was nothing wrong with any of the 3 of them. So for this one, let's go through what you have written down. Mangrove Jack's.
All right, so Mangrove Jack's has a 17.5% ABV tolerance. It is high ester, crisp, and flavorsome.
Okay, that sounds wonderful, except here's my personal feeling. We have not had great luck with Mangrove Jack's yeast. So for this one, I'd rather skip the Mangrove Jack. What's the next on the list?
It's Saf Cider AB1. This one is considered balanced. It is 11% ABV tolerance, and it likes the temperature range of 64 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
Now that sounds like a good option for our environment. Now, when they say balanced, what do they mean by that?
They mean that it's a balance between the sweetness and the fruitiness, so it's not going to push one of those flavor notes forward. It's just going to be kind of
and acidity probably plays a part in that too. So it's going to balance those flavors out. That actually is a pretty strong contender. See, I had a favorite when I looked at this list before, and it might be changing.
Next up is Saf Cider AS2. This is good for low gravity, which made me re-assimilate and try to figure out what was going on, because it says it has a 12% ABV tolerance.
Yeah.
But it promotes sweetness and complexity.
Right. This was my initial first choice.
And it specifically said in its flavor notes to think of applesauce.
Right. So that specifically made me think this might be good for this one because we're combining the maple with some spice with apple.
Which makes me think applesauce.
Now, I think what they mean when they say it's good for low gravity is, yeah, it has a 12% tolerance, but at low gravity must, it works
It still tastes
better.
good, yeah.
This is not going to be a low gravity must.
No.
Making this still in the running, but let's
comes up to the last one, which is soft cider TF6, which promotes fruitiness, is listed as good for high gravity and has an ABV tolerance of 6 to 11.
Okay.
Which is curious that it's listed as 6 to 11 for high gravity and the low gravity is listed at 12.
At 12, yeah.
But some of this information comes from the Fermentis site itself, and some of the information I just cheated and did the AI overview.
Ooh. Be careful with those.
This is my tale of woe, and it's a cautionary tale to you, my friends, that the AI overview sometimes is downright wrong.
Often is downright wrong.
I have seen this in topics that I'm familiar with, particularly with gardening. If I do a quick search, I'll see something and I'll be like, that is not right.
I've seen it with photography and video.
And then I research further
and brewing.
It's absolutely not right. And so don't trust the AI overview. Question it.
Don't trust AI at all. Anyway. So
I'm thinking
TF6.
TF6.
This is so funny because this is not where I thought this was going to go. But I really do think that for fruitiness, and this is going to be a higher gravity, it's the best option. So we're going to go with TF6, which means it has an 11% tolerance. Now that's important because there's a couple things we're going to do here. First, this is going to be a keg carb. Okay, so when this is finished, it's going to have some sweetness added. We're probably going to end up pasteurizing it. Maybe, depending. And it's going to get keg carb because if we go past the tolerance of that yeast, we can't do natural carbonation on it. And if we sweeten it at all, can't really do natural carbonation easily. So keg carbing, but it's super easy to do.
There are ways to go beyond that, but that's something that we don't want to cover in this video.
Yeah,
but we have covered it in other videos, and I'll make sure to link that in the description below.
So what we can do is do a little reverse engineering and find out what our maximum starting gravity should be. If you don't know what starting gravity is, that is, we're going to take a specific gravity reading of the must before it starts fermenting. And using that number, that's our starting number, original gravity, whatever you want to call it. We can use that to calculate our ABV later, but we can also use that to make sure we don't overpower our yeast. So if we know that our yeast has a max 11%, if I divide that by the magic number, which is 131.25, that gives me 0.083, okay? Now, a lot of people will ask, well, how come there's always a 1 in front of it? And here's why. The 1 represents water. Water is 1.000, so that 0.083 would represent the sugars. So 1.083 is our target starting gravity. That's the highest we can go. Now, just so you know, if we were to go higher, that means there could be residual sugars and we have to sweeten less. And since we've started to get into the idea that, well, different sugars get fermented at different times and you might get better flavors if you actually just surpass the yeast tolerance, but we're not worried if we do, I might go to like a 1.090.
We also have some guesswork with this particular brew because of the addition of fresh fruit. Fresh fruit is kind of a wild card. We know that they have sugars in them. We know that we can do a Google Foo and research to see approximately how many sugars they have, but we don't have an exact idea of how much we're going to extract.
So here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to take a reading of our juice as it is with the apples in it. So that gives me an idea of our starting base point, if you will, before we add maple syrup. And I know a little bit of the sugars from the apples, whatever's on the surface, might have gotten into the must already. That's okay. Most juices are around 1.050 to 1.055. This one's no different. It's sitting exactly at 1.050. So that means if I'm looking to have a 1.080 to 1.090 starting gravity, I need to add 30 to 40 points of maple syrup, which I know that in a pound of maple syrup and in a gallon, which we have a little more than a gallon now, it's about 30 points. So I'm going to add a pound and then take a measurement and see where we're at. So 1 pound maple syrup going in. I will say this much. Maple syrup is so much easier to work with than honey. It's more expensive, though. Okay, I need an implement of stirring, please. For all your mixation needs, get a spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. Get yours in the description below. And yes, I named it. I'm very proud of that. So it's also going to mix really, really easy because that maple syrup is just so loose. And the apples give a little extra agitation. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. In a perfect world, you'd want to mix the cider and honey before adding the apples.
Cider and maple syrup.
That. And let's not get into the whole cider, hard cider debate. I call it cider, which is how many Europeans say hard cider. In America, we usually say hard cider for an alcoholic beverage. By the way, this is going to have alcohol in case you didn't know. It smells so good. Like this is absolutely incredible smelling already. So this recipe is actually inspired by some conversation that happened during our last VIP hangout. What I mean by that is every month we do a hangout for all of our VIP members. By the way, if you didn't know we had a VIP club, it's kind of like Patreon. There's actually a link in the description. It goes to our website. You can check it out. It is a monthly paid membership and it helps out the channel a lot, but it also gives you access to basically our own private hangout club. And once a month, we do a Zoom meeting for members that qualify for that level. And we all just hang out. We talk about brewing. We play bingo sometimes. Sarah, one of our admins, actually made up a VIP hangout bingo. So it's like
brew related.
It's all brew related,
it's
questions
silly.
about various people in the group and different things that come up and the inside jokes and stuff like that. Go to 2 meetings and you get all the jokes. Yeah. It's actually really cool. In that meeting, we were talking about a bunch of different things. And somehow somebody was talking about like a maple something they made, and then something else was an apple thing, and I went, "Oh, maple apple." And that's where this came from. Now, right now, we are sitting at a 1.072 gravity. I think I'd like that to be slightly higher because I kind of want to try to overpower the yeast a little bit.
Okay.
Because, see, here's the thing. I don't like to try to overpower high gravity yeast. Like, I don't want to try to overpower EC1118 because it's probably just going to stall. Whereas this one, we're only talking 11%. And you might have noticed there's no yeast nutrients going in this one because there's tons of stuff here and it's not that high of a gravity, so I'm not worried about it. So let's put it back on our scale. I think we might have hurt the scale the first time, but I'm going to try it again anyway. Don't die. We have another scale. I just don't feel like getting it. Okay. I'm just going to do like, a quarter pound, just like 4 ounces, because I think that's all we really need at this point. So I thought the scale was dying. What's actually happening is when I remove all this from it, it goes backwards so far that it gives an error. So that's all it was. It's probably not great for the scale, I'll be honest. I just want to mix that through yet again. If this tastes half as good as it smells right now when we're done, it's going to be kind of awesome. So I added that 4 ounces, mixed it through. Going to take another reading. Hopefully it's closer to that 1.090 mark. I know we take a lot of readings, but to me, it's kind of important to know what's going on, and that's why we do it. If I was brewing by myself without a camera going, I might take less, but I would still do quite a few. Oh, nailed it. 1.080, right on the nose. Now, I know 1.083 was my target, and I said I kind of want to see if I can surpass it. All the sugars from those apples is what I'm hoping for is going to push it past. So we're going to play with that one. We have our must, we have our apples, we have our cider, we have our maple syrup.
Do you want to put this in now, or do you want to put this in conditioning?
I want to put this in now. This
is cinnamon. And the reason why I asked him if he wanted to put it in conditioning is that cinnamon does have some
antimicrobial, anti-living thing, antibiotic, that's it, I think. I don't know, anti-something.
Anti-something. So it may cause a problem for the yeast, or it may not. Who knows?
We've not had that really happen. And this is such, whatever. We're doing it. Can you put it into conditioning when this is done? Absolutely you can, if it makes you feel better. I'm doing it now. And that was a big cinnamon stick, so I'm only going to use one. And what yeast did we decide we're using? Was it TF6? It was TF6.
It was TF6.
Okay. I have the Saft Cider TF6. We're just going to use a half packet of this because we don't need a full packet of yeast for 1 gallon. So I'm just going to eyeball roughly half. Spread that on top. Do my, it's not really patented, Somebody gave me a hard time because I said it was patented. My folding technique.
It was a joke, people.
Yep. And I want to mix that around because they're just sitting on top of the apples now. And, you know, they need to achieve their destiny. No, we didn't hydrate. Why? Don't really need to. This is not a super high gravity must. I'm not concerned. I'm not worried. When I look worried, you can get worried. Now let's hope I don't eat those words and have it stall on me.
Yep.
You know, but hey, it's all part of the show, you know? It's all good. I am ready for that occurrence. I'm ready. If this stalls, we know what to do. I'm ready. I won't be happy, but I'm ready. So, what are we going to do with this now?
Well, we need to put a lid and airlock on it.
Yes, we do. All right, so lid goes on. Make sure you hear a snap, because if you don't snap, your seal's for crap. Just love that. And then airlock filled with sanitizer fluid, and we're just going to stick that right in there. And dry off an area somewhere in this zone-ish. I don't have tape yet, but eventually I'll put a piece of tape on this and stick my note on here. Oh, she's going to make me do it on camera. I don't know why I'm doing this on camera, but... Okay. Stick my note on there. Now what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's probably going to go for a couple weeks. When we see that the airlock activity has slowed down to nothing, we'll be back to show you the next step. So it's been about 2 weeks on this, and it's time to give this its first check. Sometimes it's better to pull the airlock out before you do that.
Working just fine.
Giving it a quick smell, I definitely smell fermentation.
Oh, goodness.
Looking inside, there are some yeast, like yeast rafts and things on the apples themselves, but that's not mold. Okay, mold is hairy and looks very, very different. So there's nothing untoward going on here. We'll probably dunk all the apples again just to keep them moist. I have been giving this a shake or two every now and then.
We give you those little peeks inside so that way you have an idea of what looks normal and what doesn't. We don't intentionally destroy any of our brews, so we don't have gross things to show you. But if you see gross things,
we'd show you.
That's probably a bad sign.
I mean, it smells like fermentation, so that's pretty typical. When I say smells like fermentation, meaning I can smell some alcohol, an odd fruitiness.
But it still smells appley.
Yeah, and it smells still kind of fresh and like overripe. That's the best. Very overripe fruit. That's what it smells like. If it starts to smell like rotting garbage and things like that, that's probably not
bad.
good. Now, this started at 1.083. It's currently at 1.010. I was just looking at all the apples, trying to see, is there anything in here that makes me worry about leaving them another week or 2 weeks even?
Nope.
And really, no, it looks really, really good. The apples are soft. They're all still floating, so I will have to keep giving it a shake. But let me go grab the cinnamon. I'll be right back. Got the big boy cinnamon sticks today. I like these. That's about, what would you say, 5 inches? Yeah, that's about 5 inches. And it is probably not true cinnamon. It doesn't actually say what it is. Ingredient, cinnamon. That's oh so helpful. Now, the fact that it's an Asian brand means it might actually be cinnamon. Most American cinnamon is not. But, ooh, that smells really good. Almost sweet.
Oh,
smells like cinnamon sugar.
Yeah.
That might be real cinnamon.
All right.
Which means it's probably Ceylon. Okay. I'm going to put this in here. It's like poking up.
There we go. There we go.
But there's something I want to do since we're here already before we put the lid on.
We already took a gravity reading.
I know.
Oh, you want to take a taste?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you know what? We're just going to be mad scientists here. That's pretty nice. Mm-hmm. A little mapley, a little appley. That's nice. For sure, we're going to probably sweeten this with more maple syrup. I can tell already, but
yeah,
it's off to a really great start.
Yes, that.
Okay, put the lid back on.
Gotta get your snap.
Or your seal's crap.
There we go.
There it is. One. There we go. Holding pressure. Seems to be.
Yep.
Just give it a good swirl. That gets some of the gases out and fills the, whoa, like that. Creates a blanket of CO2 on top, forces out any oxygen that might have been in there. And this is going to sit for another week.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, because cinnamon. I like it cinnamon.
He does like it cinnamon, but that was a big boy cinnamon stick. And what is the
We'll
ABV?
check it in a week.
What's the ABV right now? Just for...
What is the ABV right now?
That's for fun.
Just for funsies. Let's check it out. This is a high proof cider. Wow, 1.083 to start minus 1.010 times 131.25 gives us 9.58.
Yeah. All right. So that gravity is scooching up a little bit, so it might
be like 10%.
Help extract more cinnamon.
All right, we'll check it in a week.
So we're gonna check in a week.
So we'll be back in a week.
Always wait more. It's okay.
It's going in the ferment station. See you in a week. It has been 1 week. It's time to see what it's doing inside here. And if the cinnamon is enough. Okay, looking inside, what you're seeing is like little bits of yeast just sitting on top of the fruit. From when I shake it around, it just kind of floats up on there. But other than that, this looks absolutely perfect. This is pretty much exactly what you'd expect.
The apples themselves are starting to deteriorate, kind of creating an applesauce scenario. But that's normal.
Right. So what we want to do is check it, because it was at 1.010 last time. We're not ever going to get a truly accurate number here, because if it did ferment and fermented a little bit of the fruit, well, that number might be different. Yeah. But I just want to see where it's at. I'm thinking
she's done.
It's not floating.
It's not floating?
It's not floating. Need a little bit more.
Oop.
Oops. Well, that's why I got extra. All right, it's sitting at what looks like 0.998, 0.998. Now, this is the next thing that we have to do. The cinnamon has been in there for a week. It's going to extract. We need to find out if there's enough cinnamon flavor for this.
Now, if you remember, Brian kind of wiggled it down underneath those apples, and the apples did a really good job of keeping it submerged, so that may have helped with its extraction rate.
Now remember, this is maple syrup and apples and apple juice. It's a very interesting smell. It's not an off flavor, but I think it's the fermented maple syrup is giving a unique smell.
Yeah, we love the Glencairn glasses because they really allow you to do the swirl, and then the tulip shape helps you get all the different notes in the aroma. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a taste.
So what we're looking for is, has it had enough cinnamon? I smell cinnamon. Now that I just got a whiff of cinnamon as I smelled it.
Yeah, you get a nice bit of cinnamon, and particularly in the back note.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. It's very dry, obviously.
Yeah.
Going to need some back sweetening with maple syrup to make this work.
Yep.
But I taste apple. I don't taste maple syrup almost at all.
Yep.
A little bit of cinnamon there. So let's rack this and see if we're going to move forward with other things today. So as always, when we rack, we like to use an auto siphon. And we're going to rack it to our pitcher. This is the neat one with the really good spout, and it has the letters on the side in both American and metric, so that way you know how much you got.
They're numbers.
There's letters too.
It's primarily
It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I am using the cap on the end of the auto siphon. And mainly, here's what we're doing. We're trying to get this off the fruit so that we don't have to worry about spoilage or anything like that, because if fermentation's really done, that's when it could be a little bit much. And this has been going for like almost 4 weeks. So the fruit is done all it's going to do. It's not going to give you anything more. And we want to get it off that cinnamon too, so that doesn't over extract and just become harsh and astringent. Okay, so we racked it. We have a little bit over 128 ounces, which is great, because by the time we do tasting and adjustments and stuff, probably going to end up with roughly a gallon, which is pretty much perfect. But that brief little tasting told me this needs to be sweeter. So I have some maple syrup here, and we're going to pour some in. This is the same stuff that we used to make it, so it should be, you know what? Do I just use the spout?
Yeah.
Probably easier.
It's not the nice one.
Whoa.
That was a lot looser than I was anticipating.
Yeah, you get used to honey, and then use maple syrup, you go, whoa. I kind of want this to be a little on the sweet side, so.
Yeah, I also want the maple flavor to come through.
Yep, it's maple spiced cider, not spiced cider with maybe that's maple, you know.
Nice face.
Well, hey, you got to get the point across sometimes, yeah? Now, this is pulpy, okay, because there was so many bits and pieces down in the bottom of that I got quite a bit of it in here. But we are going to end up pasteurizing this, and we have to pasteurize it because...
We're adding a fermentable sugar.
Right. And it could potentially re-ferment.
Maple syrup.
So that means we'll be keg carbing this. If you really want to do it natural carbonation style, we have a video explaining how to do that. It's a little bit more involved and it's a little bit more of a risk. I don't want to say it's risky, but it's a bit more of a risk.
And it does include pasteurization as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, you have to pasteurize it anyway. So let's take a quick taste of this and see how I did. This is our general taste testing method for sweetening. Sweeten it a little bit, take a taste, drink some goop.
Pretend like there's no pulp in there if your name is Brian.
Yeah. Do the best I
Are
can.
you going to be all right?
I'll be fine. It smells young. Like this has the young smell.
Yeah. Okay, up front, I wasn't really getting much maple, but in the back now, I'm getting the maple cinnamon. Like the maple comes first, and then there's a little bit of cinnamon. But it's still not sweet.
That's probably good. It's like 4 ounces, maybe. We'll find out. I mean, this is what you do, you know? Taste it. But don't just dump a bunch in, because if you put way too much in, you can't take it back out.
Yeah.
You can always add a little bit more. And we hear that all the time. And people are like, oh, but then I'm wasting it with the taste. Are you wasting it? You're drinking it. How are you wasting it? It's never a waste if it goes down your throat. Oof. Yeah. You know, it sounded better in my head. All right. Getting there? Still smells young. I don't think we can cover that up with more maple syrup.
I think sparkling, that would be fantastic. Now, if you want a little bit more, I'm cool with a little bit more.
A little bit more.
But
Generally speaking, this is the kind of thing that, oh, if that got aged, it'd be even better. You don't generally age stuff like this, though.
Yeah.
Although, this one's actually high enough to be able to age. Speaking of that, can you mix this up? I gotta do some calculations. No, I don't really say it like that. I say calculations. Using the calculator teacher said I would never have handy, that was literally just off camera, I am going to calculate how much alcohol this has. I might have said it in the last one. So it's 1.083 minus 0.998 is 85 points of gravity used up times 131.25. This is 11% ABV. So can we really call this a cider anymore? It's more like a maple spice sparkling wine, but it's going to be 11%. Hey, you know, we have trouble making low ABV stuff. We just do.
I'm going to call it Johnny.
Okay. That's really not very good for the algorithm or search.
Do you know why I'm naming it Johnny?
Because he's coming home?
Johnny Appleseed.
Oh, Johnny Appleseed. Okay. I think it's mixed. I mean, that's as good a reason as any. And the pours can be big because we have extra.
Probably going to get a glass of this.
Well, next week. After pasteurizing. What?
If that doesn't fit,
Oh, right.
Then
Yeah,
I
if
get
it
to
doesn't
drink
fit
the
in the fermenter. She drinks the rest. She's right. You know, I get some of that too.
I'm really liking this.
Yeah, that's starting to become really nice. Definitely like apples with a little maple syrup on top and cinnamon sprinkled on it. Very nice. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. And it's going to happen off camera. We're going to rack this back into a fermenter. That's going to get an airlock put on it, and we're going to pasteurize it. We have a video on how to pasteurize. We can link to that so that you know how to do it. In a nutshell, get the internal temperature to 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 22 minutes. After 22 minutes, gently let it come back to room temperature. Store it. We'll be back in a week to show you what it's doing then. So the one thing we forgot to say is what we sweeten it to. So after we racked it, I have a reading here, 1.022. And this is very full. So you know what's going to happen with this?
Fine.
All right, it's been 4 days since this was pasteurized, and today we're going to keg carb. And we're going to do it with a slightly different method. So first, we're going to rack it into our 1 gallon keg. It's all the same so far. Don't need that anymore. Use the auto siphon. there's actually quite a bit of sediment that fell out after pasteurization. So I'm leaving the cap on here.
I'm not surprised by that at all based on how our apples were kind of falling apart.
Oh, yeah. They were chunky and getting lumpy and
Applesaucy.
applesaucy. That's a good word. Yeah. And to rack, use an auto siphon. I think we've shown this in this video already.
Yep.
Destination is lower, source is higher. Let it flow. Okay, so where we're going to change is in the way we're going to actually carbonate it, the equipment we're going to use. We have a bunch of these kegs, and because we experimented rather harshly with them on other things, I've broken some of the pressure regulators. So we don't have many that are working, and the one that is working is used on something else. So we're going to use the little gadget that we use to put right on one bottle and carbonate one bottle and use that to test carbonation levels. But today we're actually going to carbonate with it. Does that make any sense at all? It's this. It's just a pressure regulator and a keg cap.
So typically we would be using the stuff that comes with the kit
stem
for
that comes
the
with it.
1 gallon, but we're using a different stem that has 3-way.
Well, two.
Okay, 2 attachments.
Basically, it turns this into a true keg so that you can use these types of attachments, which means like a picnic tap and things like that all work really well with this. Now, a couple things. First, this is sold separately. We can have a link to it. It does attach to these. It's made for it. It works. The other thing you could do with these is the SodaStream bottles can actually be attached to these. We have some of the equipment to do it. I haven't tested it on camera, so that's why, or I haven't tested it off camera. That's why we're not going to show you on camera yet, because I want to make sure that we have it down before we, look like more idiots than we probably already do. So most of the time when you get tubing like this, you want to have a metal weight on the end. We only have one of those. I don't know why. Most of the kits don't come with it, and that's in use. So we have all this tubing that it came with. I actually cut some off already, believe it or not. And some people say you leave the tubing because if you look, see how it coils? That is down at the bottom, right? If you cut it, it has a tendency to do this, so it could flip up. So you might not get everything all the way to the bottom. Either way, the weight is better. But we're gonna leave it like this today, and I'm gonna fish this guy in. Now everything's been sanitized. We cleaned everything up. And the idea is that that should wrap around and hopefully go all the way to the bottom. And then you just tighten it up. I really like this stem instead of the one that they come with. It just feels a little more sturdy, substantial. Yeah, that's a good word, substantial. Okay, and then this is our pressure cap. Now, I have a CO2 tank on here that I have no idea how much is in it. So I'm just going to use it today because, well, why waste it? And it's really easy. You just kind of clamp it on there. That's it.
It's another one of those things that if you don't get that snap, your seal is crap.
That's right. And I'm going to open this guy up and see how much we have.
Oh, there's a little.
There's quite a bit. I pressurized it to 55 PSI. Now, this will go into our mini fridge.
Are you going to
I'm going to shake Jesus. Oh, yeah, we want to,
yes.
Before I shake, I want to purge. That purges out the extra air. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
I forget that every single time. I probably didn't even get it all, but it's good enough. Okay, if you really want to do more, you can do more. Just like that. See?
Ta-da.
Okay, but what I want to do is shake this guy up. Look at that canister. It's freezing.
Yeah.
And I'm shaking it up, but I'm also going to shake it up every couple of days like that. You want to definitely keep doing that. Now that it's shaken up, you can already see the condensation happening on the CO2 tank. That's just how it works. So this is going to go in the fridge. We're going to leave it there for probably about a week. I'm going to give it a shake every day if I can. Honestly, I forget half the time. So if I get a couple of shakes in there, it's all good and it still works out perfectly. We'll be back to give a taste at that point. Okay, so this has been sitting for a week, and I just have to fill you in on a couple of things that have happened. First, this whole setup here, we had a little bit of a leak at one point. The first of these canisters went out after like a day, so we put a new one on, and I heard a little bit of a hiss, and I was like, this is not going to work right, but I did the best we could. We put it back, and it went dead within like 2 days. So we have a new canister on here now, and somehow it's not leaking at the moment.
The difficulty with trying to find a leak in these kind of multiple segmented
it
parts
could be here, it could be
is
here,
some of them spin and they're supposed to spin, and some of them spin and they're not. So you have to figure out which is which.
Okay, I am going to reduce pressure, like just cut off the gas altogether, and I'm going to vent a little bit of gas here just to bring it down to serving pressure, more like maybe 10 psi, yeah, something like that. Okay, and now I think that canister's gone. No, it's got a little bit in it. Okay, and we are going to attach our picnic tap, and our picnic tap, I actually rebuilt this thing. If you've ever seen us do these before, it leaked really bad. So I shortened the hose first off so we can use our bottle brushes to clean all the way through. And I just changed out to a different hose. Okay. And now, the moment of truth. Lots of head. That's for sure. The first one's always kind of messed up. This one's better. Yeah, way better. And there's no pressure left in that canister. So this one went dead too. Yeah, I think that's dead. We'll get a glass out of it though. But it is carbonated, so that's always a plus. That's enough for a tasting, right? Which do you want? Head or headless?
I'll take the head.
Okay. Wow. All right, so you might be thinking, well, this is crazy. Now you guys don't even have carbonation or anything. We can change out that canister, no problem, and this will just stay in the fridge. I can even leave the picnic tap attached or remove it, whichever we decide to do. But looking at this, it's got a very slight haze. Well, or is that condensation?
It's a little of both.
It's very slightly hazy.
It's a little of A and a little of B. I also am noticing still a little tiny bit of apple particulate, and I'm not offended by that because when you use the full apples,
you get little chunks.
You get little chunks.
It'll happen.
And
it's okay.
It's just apple. It's okay.
And by using a keg, what's happening is the bottom, anything that sells to the bottom is getting stirred up when you pump it out.
But it kind of reminds me of a beer visually.
It does. It looks like beer. Looks like a very light beer.
Yeah.
On the smell,
that's a yummy smell.
I get a little bit of maple syrup on the smell. A little apple.
That's fantastic.
Now this had apples, maple syrup, and a cinnamon stick. So this should be really nice. I'm going in. Damn! That is good. That is really good. It's got a nice sharpness to it from the carbonation. Added a little bit of a kick.
With the tartness of the apple, but then the maple syrup just gives us really great mouth coating sensation.
It's very powerful flavor
with that sweetness, but it's like a maple sweetness, not a sugary sweetness, if you know what I mean, and the difference. And then that little pop of cinnamon. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, Adam's one of our admins. He doesn't like cinnamon.
Not at all, but we like it, and if you like
this is fabulous.
I think you'd like this.
This is really good. Okay, ciders generally, they're usually, I hate to say it, but they're like a little wimpy almost.
Yeah.
They tend to not have a bold flavor. This has this boldness right up front that you feel it right away.
The mouth coating is really fantastic.
Fills your mouth. Just coats your mouth completely. Unbelievable. I was not expecting this. I thought, this will be good flavor combos, but
this is that.
Yeah, this is really good. I don't think we can't make it. Well, we might be able to make it last a year because I'm experimenting with trying to fill a bottle, but I don't know how exactly to do it. So
I don't think it's gonna last a year.
Yeah, it's gonna get drank. This is also 11%. This is not like low ABV stuff. This is fairly high ABV. Can we really call this a cider? It's almost like a maple apple wine. Whatever you want to call it, I really don't care. But you can't call it Steve. We have plans for that.
I'm still blown away by that mouthfeel. It almost feels like some vanilla has been added to this.
It really does.
I know it hasn't. I think it's just the combination of the maple added to the cider is really getting this fantastic mouthfeel.
Yeah.
That in a lot of ciders I miss.
Yeah, mouthfeel's kind of missing.
Yeah.
It's just, they're kind of weak. They're light. too light. Like you don't really get the flavors. This one, I'm getting maple, I'm getting apple, I'm getting cinnamon, and it all came through really, really nicely. So right now on the screen, you are seeing Ye Olde scoring guide so that you can get an idea of how we score things. While Derica tries to get just a few more sips out of this. Do you have a number?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
10.
9.
I was thinking about 9, but then I thought about it more, and I said, why would it not be a 10? This is shockingly fantastic, in my opinion.
You know why I'd want it to be more to be a 10? I'd want it sweeter.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is already 1.022, but in my feeling of it, some of the harsher notes of the maple syrup are coming through a little bit in the from the fermentation. Not a bad thing, but enough to make it not a 10 to me. So it's a 9. I mean, come on, that's like an amazing score. And I'm not a huge cider guy. You got to remember that. We make a lot of ciders, but I don't love cider. It's okay. So for me to give a 9 is kind of high praise.
When we are done filming today, we're going to put a new canister on this, and I'm going to be drinking more.
I have a feeling the new canister's going on before we even finish filming today. But
this is fantastic. I
like
know I keep saying it, but that mouthfeel is just...
Yeah.
If you enjoy like a really creamy sensation beer...
Yeah.
This would be perfect for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.